What's going on, kings and queens? Thanks for joining me again on Keeping It Copacetic. It's a Sunday afternoon, and that's a great time to relax, kick back, get your Sunday afternoon nap or a Sunday afternoon drive. I'm sipping on some green tea because I'm going to try to do 2 chapters today. So if you get your tea, get whatever it is, your milkshake. Oh, milkshake sounds good. Or something just to relax and kick back, your tea, whatever, wine, whatever you need to just mellow back. On the road, just take your deep breath, whatever you got, coffee. That's when you get that milkshake on the road. That's nothing like it. And just relax and enjoy your ride. Enjoy your commute if you're traveling through the summer. My summer vacation from teaching is getting shorter. I've actually got a training tomorrow. So I'm all about keeping it copacetic, right? Got to do it. Got to do it. So before I get into chapter 21 and 22, let's do a short recap on chapter 20. On chapter 20, Raymond came over and told Portia that he knows that she was taking Deprivan and stop trying to pretend that nothing's really going on. He's seriously worried about her. So that was one thing. Next, David is after her at work. He just wants her to do that thing for him one more time, just spank that butt for him just one more good time. And she's just not having it. So she even breaks down and she goes into Google to find him a dominatrix, and she finds Miss Sheba and sends her to the hotel. So that kind of gets that off of her shoulders. So she went home, she took the propofol, she found herself as a chambermaid in London who has met with her long lost, father who never really was a part of her life. And so she gets a little revenge on him. And she's just all about getting what's due her and having her new start in life. So I think Portia kind of takes a little page out of her book and says, hey, I'm going to move forward and be in charge of my own life as well. So let's go ahead and get into chapters 21 and 22. Here we go. I turned on the radio and the Saturday morning blues were playing. I was reaching in the refrigerator when I heard the doorbell ringing. I looked at the clock and it was close to 9 o'clock. Probably the Jehovah Witnesses canvassing, I figured. I usually don't answer the door for them, but I was in a good mood. Why at least not say good morning? I looked through the window and saw it was David. Oh, Lord, I said, remembering that I had sent an escort to the hotel last night. My heart started thumping against my chest and I was scared to open the door. Calm down, I said to myself. He's standing out there in one piece, so it can't be that bad. At least it was easier to face the music at home than at work with Keisha listening. I twisted the lock and slowly turned the doorknob. I pulled the door back and he was standing there with a toothy smile spread across his face. I'm glad to see your happy face, I said, stepping to the side and inviting him in. Come on in the kitchen. I was just making myself some breakfast. You know you're something else, don't you? He said, following close behind me. Yeah, I know, but you pushed me in a corner. That wasn't my intention, and now I can see I was wrong to pressure you like that, but you were the only one I trusted. So am I in the doghouse? I asked, putting some grits on to boil. Portia, I came over here to thank you. Really? I was truly scared. I didn't know how that was going to turn out, or if you'd be disappointed, or if she might hurt you. I was shocked and ready to kill you when I opened the door and saw Sheba and not you, but she took control of the situation and cooled me out. Can you sit down and eat? I asked him with a giggle. Don't worry about it. Let's just say I won't be needing your services anymore. That's a relief, I said, putting some sausage in the skillet. Pour us some juice to celebrate. When the grits were finished, I scrambled some eggs, drained the sausage, and we sat down to eat. The air between us was clear again, and we could talk like we used to. Be careful. You worry me sometimes, I told him when he got ready to leave. Everything in moderation. I closed the door and did the hallelujah dance. That was one huge monkey off my back. That was a closed chapter, and we were still friends. If only I could manage that feat with Raymond, I might be able to live happily ever after. The only thing gnawing at me was that I had told George that I was done taking the propofol, and in less than a week, I had taken another dose. It wasn't as if I needed it. I just took it because it was there. Maybe I should throw the rest out, I said to myself. I walked into the kitchen, opened the refrigerator, and lifted up the door on the butter compartment. Yet I couldn't reach for the vial. I wasn't ready to trash it. Wasn't that much left anyway, and when it was gone, that was it. I closed the refrigerator and I spent the rest of the day and Sunday, despite it being the day of rest, cleaning up my house and getting ready for company. I dusted, mopped, vacuumed, and scrubbed bathrooms until my hands were nearly raw. With that done, all I needed to do was the grocery shopping. I took off from work early on Tuesday. Keisha had already left for the day, and both of us were taking Wednesday off. When I pulled into the garage and saw Pam's car parked, I started to get excited about the holiday. I rushed inside and she was lounging on the couch watching TV. Mama, I was getting worried about you, she said, jumping up and giving me a big hug. Why? I'm actually home early. I don't know. The house feels strange when you're not home. I guess I missed you, she said, still holding her arms around me. Well, I'm home and I missed you more, I said, giving her a kiss on the cheek. I'm glad you're already here because I haven't done any shopping and your Aunt Paula and Uncle Charles will be here tomorrow. Yeah, she called and told me, Pam said. I'm going upstairs to change clothes and then we can head out, I said. We're getting it done at the last minute, so we'll probably end up running all over town to get everything we need. I changed into some jeans and sweatshirt with the front pocket to hold my coupons, and we got into my car and backed out of the garage. Let's go to the Green Hills Kroger's. They're usually stocked better than anyone else, I suggested, heading toward the interstate. If we're lucky, we can do this in one stop. Mama, if you need help getting things done sometimes, you can just call me and I'll come home. Tammy, I'm doing just fine. You just make sure you got your situation under control. I'm ready to see you in that cap and gown in the spring. I'm working on it, but I was thinking about staying off campus at home next semester. Okay, what's this about? I asked suspiciously. Dad's worried about you and this divorce stuff, and I want to make sure that you're good. First of all, I'm good, I said, getting annoyed that Raymond would try to put her in the middle of our mess. Secondly, this is between him and me. You concentrate on yourself and living your life. We'll work this out one way or another. I told him that he could come over for Thanksgiving dinner, she said, looking at me wide-eyed. Is that all right with you? I don't have a problem with it. He's your father, and I hope that we will still be family, even though I am getting a divorce, I said, trying to hide my irritation with him for going through our child to get a dinner invitation. Turkey or ham, I asked, changing the subject when we walked into Kroger's. I can't decide, so can we get both, she said, grabbing a grocery cart. Why not? We're going to have a full table this year, I said, shaking my head. We've got to have dressing, candied yams, macaroni and cheese, greens, and cornbread, Pam said, smacking her lips. They don't have any good turnip greens here. Let's just make green bean casserole this year. We've got to have greens, Mama. What is Thanksgiving without some greens? We can just stop by Farmer's Market and get some on the way home. What's for dessert, Betty Crocker, since you're making the menu? I asked, choosing the seasoning and adding condensed milk to the cart. I've got a taste for sweet potato pie and coconut cake, she answered. That's why they say don't go to the store hungry. Who's going to cook all of that anyway? Aunt Paula says she's going to bake the desserts. I see you all have worked out everything. We don't want to just overload you with doing all the work. Wow, how considerate. All of this concern for me lately? I just don't know what to say. Four hands were better than two, and we got all the shopping done, including the stop at the market, and were home by 8 o'clock. The next morning, I picked up my phone hoping to have a message from George and saw a text from Paula saying they would be arriving in Nashville at 10:30 on a flight with U.S. Airways and to wait for them at the house. I took a shower, put on some sweatpants and a pullover. It was going to be a long day of cooking, and I needed to be comfortable. Pam came down while I was eating a bowl of oatmeal. Good morning, Mama, Pam said, giving me a quick hug from behind my chair. Well, look at this. I'm surprised you made it down before the afternoon. Ha ha, very funny. What time will Aunt Paula get here? She said, pouring herself a bowl of Honey Nut Cheerios. The doorbell can ring at any time now, I said, looking down at my watch. So what's the plan for today? I think we should prepare everything except for the turkey and ham, I said. That's cool. Who gets to wash all the greens? You wanted them, you wash them, I said with a laugh. They're ready anytime you are. That's when we heard Paula and Charles at the door. Thank you, Lord, Pam said. I've been saved by the bell. Don't even think about it, I said as we both headed to the front door. Hey, sister girl and niecey, Paula said with her arms open wide as soon as we answered the door. Charles stood behind her, patiently holding their bags. Come on in, you two, I said, giving her a hug first, and then Charles. How was your flight? They're all good as long as the plane lands in one piece, Charles said. Yeah, you're right about that, Paula said, slapping him on the shoulder. You all know where the guest room is, so you can put down your things and get comfortable. We had an early start this morning. Charles might want to take a nap. I had mine on the plane. Whatever you want to do is fine with me. We'll be in the kitchen. Time for round one on the greens, and you're the champ, I said to Pam as we headed into the kitchen. A few minutes later, Paula strolled in to join us. Move over, Pammy. You know I'm the one who knocks out the greens, Paula said, coming into the kitchen. You only have to tell me once, Aunt Paula. I'm out, Pam said, pulling her hands from the sink full of greens. Well, now you can get started on making the macaroni and cheese and sweet potatoes so we can bake them tomorrow, I told Pam while I boiled the meat and chopped the veggies for the dressing. Oh, it feels good to be here, guys. I'm so happy, Paula said with her hands wrist deep in the sink. We're happy to have you, girl. What made you decide to come all of a sudden, I asked. You're doing so much lately, I needed to come and see you. I'm hoping I can meet George while I'm here. Is he eating with us tomorrow? No, he's with his son in St. Martin. Oh, that's too bad, Paula commented. Tell me about it. I wish he was here. This is weird listening to you talk about another man, Mama, Pam said, grating the cheese. I know, sweetie, but it is what it is. I could smell food and it's getting me hungry. Is there something in here a man can throw between some bread and make a sandwich? Charles asked, coming into the kitchen. I'll make you one, honey. You want a beer or is it too early? Paula asked, drying her hands after her final wash to the greens. I'm on vacation, so it's never too early, he answered. Why don't you put your feet up in the den and watch the big TV? I said. Pam will bring you your sandwich in a minute. With the three of us working together, we got everything prepared in no time. Paula baked the coconut cake and a sweet potato pie like she promised. The chicken and the ham were seasoned for tomorrow. The greens were cooked. The dressing, the yams, and the macaroni and cheese were ready to be baked. Microwave some popcorn, Mama. We can watch a movie together before it gets too late and I fall asleep on it, Pam said, heading into the den. Did you all find a movie worth watching? I asked, joining them with two bowls of popcorn. Just a rerun of Pulp Fiction, Charles said. If that's the best you can do, we'll live with it, Paula said. It's either that or The Wizard of Oz, Pam added. We looked at reruns, switching back and forth between the channels before I called it a night around 10 o'clock. I'm clocking out. You guys can work the night shift if you want. I need some sleep, I said, suppressing a yawn. You want me to come with you? Pam asked. Are you kidding? I asked, perplexed. I'm enjoying the company, but I'm here by myself most of the time. I think I can go to bed by myself. And that's chapter 21. Let's go ahead and get into chapter 22. What time do you want to serve dinner today? Paula asked, peeping in my bedroom in the morning. I think 4 o'clock is a good time. Early enough for us to take our time and enjoy each other. You know, Pam invited Raymond to eat with us. Yeah, I heard. I think it'll be nice. Like you said, we're all still family. Anyway, I like to see my brother-in-law. It's been a while. I hope it will set a better tone for us. We're not on the same page right now. Well, it's going to be good for all of us to sit down and talk and clear the air. As long as he understands there are boundaries that he has to respect, I told her. Okay, sister. Well, take your time getting up. I'll go down and make everybody a light breakfast, she said, closing the door. The oven was on nonstop after we finished breakfast as we baked, heated, and warmed our ample Thanksgiving meal. When we were done, Pam set the table in the dining room. It was about 3:30 when Raymond rang the doorbell and Pam rushed to answer the door. Hey, Daddy, she said, jumping in his arms. Hey, sweetie, how's it going? I'm good. I hope you're hungry. We got a ton of food, Pam said, leading him into the kitchen. Don't worry, I brought my appetite, he said, rubbing his stomach while he sniffed the aromas. Hello, Raymond. How are you? I asked, being the peacemaker. Hey, Portia. I'm hanging in there. What's up, my brother? Paula said, drying her hands and giving him a hug. Charles is in the den watching some kind of game. You can either join him or we'll put you to work. I'll hang out with Charles. They say too many cooks spoil the soup. Who said you'd be cooking? We got pots that need washing, Paula said, laughing. At least you can feed me before you put me to work. That's a deal, Paula shouted behind him as he walked to the den. Nothing left to do but to eat it, I said to Paula after I took the cornbread out of the oven. Okay, then, I'll go tell the folks it's time to eat, she said, leaving the kitchen. I put the food in serving bowls and was placing them on the dinner table when they all walked into the dining room. Sit wherever you want. None of you are guests in here, I said, teasing. Pam took the chair to the right of me at the head of the table, and Paula sat on the left. Before we bless the food and start stuffing our faces, there's something that we need to discuss, Paula said in a solemn voice. I froze and instantly started praying that it wasn't any bad news. Portia, I just want you to listen and don't get upset. Now I was extremely worried as all the eyes around the table were focused on me. Raymond called me and told me about you taking the propofol drug. He's afraid that you may have a problem or be addicted. We all love you and we're all here to help and support you in whatever way you need us. I get it now. This isn't a family Thanksgiving dinner. This is an intervention to help poor Portia deal with her drug problem. I'm really disappointed in you, Paula. I can't believe you couldn't just talk to me one-on-one before you all planned this melodramatic moment, I said angrily, feeling betrayed. And you, Raymond, I can't believe you're trying to use this to manipulate me. It doesn't matter what I do or what you do, we're not going to get back together. That's not what this is about, Portia, Raymond said firmly. I care about you. You care about me? You left me, and you did it at the worst time in my life. You left me, I screamed across the table. Calm down, Portia, Paula said. We're not plotting against you. I'm here to find out what's going on with you, that's all. Mama, I was scared when Daddy told me that he saw you in bed with a needle. I don't want anything to happen to you, Pam said emotionally. Nothing's going to happen to me. I'm not hooked on propofol. This whole thing has been blown out of proportion. All right, Portia. Will you take a minute and tell us how this all started, and then we can eat, Charles said, trying to appease everybody. All right. I was still having some problems sleeping and dealing with the loss of Nicholas. I got curious about the drug when I heard how restful the sleep was for people who had taken it. Yes, I have experimented with it a few times, but I'm done with that. I've healed a lot since then. And as far as you're concerned, Ray, just because I don't want to be married to you anymore doesn't mean I'm strung out on drugs. If you want to help me, then sign the divorce papers so we can stop hurting each other. I'm sorry. I cannot forget that you walked away. I forgive you and I feel your pain, but I can't forget it. It will always be there, and there's nothing we can do to change it. If anyone here wants to talk to me, they are welcome to do so individually. I am not on trial for anything, so I am not doing any public testifying in front of a jury. Now, if you all don't mind, I've spent a great amount of time and money preparing this Thanksgiving dinner, and I want to eat it while it's hot. You're right, sister girl. We've said enough for now, Charles. Bless the food so we can eat, Paula said, holding out her arms for us to join hands. Lord, we come thanking and praising you for protecting us and providing for us. Continue to bless us as a family and the food we're about to eat. May it nourish us in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you, Charles. And slice me a piece of ham, I said with a weak smile, refusing to let the interruption ruin my meal. You want some of my macaroni and cheese, Dad? Pam asked. Yes, indeed, sweetie. That's the best thing on the table, Raymond answered. Pass me the greens, Aunt Paula, and some dressing, Pam said, sounding relieved that the commotion was over. Who wants dark meat? Paula asked with a sly look. You know I do, honey, Charles said, and we all laughed. We all ate until we couldn't hold another bite, and Pam went into the den with Raymond and Charles to watch the ball game. I'm sorry for putting you on the spot like that, sis, Paula said while we were putting away the food and cleaning the kitchen. When Raymond called me, it sounded like you needed to be in rehab ASAP. I don't blame you. I know it wasn't the smartest thing I have done in my life, but I don't regret it at all. I've only done it a handful of times, but it changed my whole perspective on life and living. That's deep, P. In what way? She asked, stopping to listen. When I took the propofol, it took me to another level of consciousness where I was able to see that we live different lives. You mean that if you die, you come back as somebody else? Something like that, but not reincarnation where you live one life at a time. I think the spirit operates in three parts before you go to heaven: the past, the present, and the future. I believe there may be something to the theory that says the three dimensions exist simultaneously. Maybe that's the eternal life before the afterlife. You've lost me, but at least I understand that you weren't trying to escape to Neverland with Michael Jackson, she said, putting her hand on my shoulder. At first, I just wanted to see Nicholas again, and then I recognized that it wasn't the past I wanted, it was the future. But it could never be the way I wanted it. I've accepted that now, and I truly believe that the spirit lives on and on. But was George the one who gave you the propofol? She asked suspiciously. No, I asked him, but he refused to even think about it. I just told him this past weekend that I had gotten it from somebody else. Stop. How did he take the news? He was not happy, but I think he understood how desperate I was then. But why didn't you tell me you were having such a hard time? I didn't want to worry you. It was something I had to work through. Portia, can I talk to you for a minute? Raymond said, coming into the kitchen. Sure, we can go into the living room, I said, grabbing a cup of water. We sat down next to each other on the white sofa that we had barely used over the years. I wasn't trying to set you up or attack you today, he said, looking down at his hands. I was worried about losing you. Maybe not just from the drugs, but as my wife, too. I know it's hard, Ray, but you lived without me for close to 3 years. You'll be fine. Don't look back anymore. I've done enough of that for the both of us. Look forward and find someone that you can make some new history with. I don't know if I can. I still love you. But I'll get a lawyer and I'll sign the divorce papers. Thank you for not fighting me on this. We've always been best friends, and I want us to stay that way for our children's sake. We will, he said, leaning over to put his arms around me and giving me a soft kiss on the lips before he left. I went back into the den and played a couple of games of Yahtzee with Pam, Paula, and Charles, even though I was exhausted. That's enough for me, I said after Pam won again. I'm turning in. I really need some quiet time by myself. We're right behind you after we finish this game, Paula said. Not before I make myself a nightcap, Charles said. I'm impressed with the company you're keeping, Portia. The bar is fully stocked and it's all top shelf. I have a good friend who appreciates good liquor, I said, thinking about David and thankful that the walls can't talk. Who's up for Black Friday shopping tomorrow? I said, walking out. I'm ready to go right now, Pam said. I just need a few hours sleep and I'm down, Paula said. Not me. All I need to do my Christmas shopping is a laptop and a link to Amazon.com, Charles said, putting his feet up on the sofa. We got out early the next morning, but the sales in the mall were overrated. We hit the major stores in Cool Springs and a few boutiques in Green Hills, making only a few purchases. We spent most of the time just looking. We gave up the chase for bargains after it started to get dark and headed to the house. Y'all have been gone all day. Where are all the bags? Charles asked when we got home. They were just pretending today, but I'm very patient. They're going to have to make some real markdowns before I open my pocketbook, Paula said, going into the kitchen. Time for leftovers, Pam cheered, following Paula. Warm up enough for me, Charles added. What are you watching? I asked, sitting down on the sofa beside him. He's always watching something far out or boring, Paula said. This is for real here, Charles said, pointing at the TV. It's the History Channel. They're running a miniseries called Armageddon. What's it about? I asked. It's about the changes in the world, like global warming, and what the last days on the earth might be like. I've seen the Revelations part already. This episode is about Nostradamus. He was able to see into the future and wrote his predictions in quatrains. I kicked off my shoes and sat back to listen. The detail that caught my attention was Nostradamus' study of medicine. They described him as an apothecary, a historical term for a pharmacist or chemist. During his time, he formulated medicines from herbs and chemicals. I've always had an open mind about the mysteries of the universe, and now I suspected that Nostradamus had put together his own formulation of propofol or something similar that allowed him to see visions of the future that initiated his collection of prophecies. It gives you a lot to think about, Charles said as the credits rolled up after the show. That's true. Anything is possible, I said. I had hit a turning point. My preoccupation with the past was over. My new obsession was with the future and what it held for me. You know, Charles and I are out of here tomorrow afternoon, Paula said, bringing him a plate into the den. I assumed you two were staying until Sunday. No, girl, you know I can't miss church or my Sunday afternoon nap or my whole week will be a mess. Besides, we've accomplished what we came for and we had a good time. I'm going tomorrow too, Mama, Pam said. Dad wants me to spend a day with him before I go back on campus. Excuse me, you all roll in here like the FBI to interrogate me. Then you eat me out of house and home. And now you all want to leave before the weekend is over? That's a lot of nerve, I said, feigning indignation. Well, when Ray called me, I thought you had gone off the deep end for real, Paula said. I had to come and see about my baby, sis. Being here and talking with you has put my mind at ease. Well, good. I don't want you to waste time worrying about me. Well, let me tell you this. If I was worried, I would have already had your bags packed to take you home with me. Paula, you're so crazy, I said with a laugh. You can laugh if you want to, Charles said, but your room in St. Louis is ready. She changed the sheets before we left. It makes me feel so blessed that you guys care so much, I said, trying to contain my emotions. We love you, Mama, and we want you to be happy, Pam said. That's what I'm so thankful for, having my family to love. Group hug, Pam yelled, and we stood up and held each other, and it was a beautiful thing. All right, thanks for joining me again on Keeping It Copacetic, and I will see you all next time for chapter 23.